Hey folks, I'm just driving to the office here on Wednesday. I didn't get my videos in this morning going to and from CrossFit. So I'm going to do two quicker ones here. You might not be able to tell when I do them back to back like this, but just a heads up, that's what's going on. So we're going to ExperiencedDevs for both of these. This topic is going to be about code reviews and an engineer that is basically just putting other team individuals from another team onto the pull request or the code review. So not including team members, basically. And the additional detail that this person offered was like their manager seems to like treat this person like a rock star, so like doesn't seem to acknowledge it or give a shit about it. How much of that is true, like, we obviously don't know because it's Reddit and we don't see the full picture, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk through because we've been talking about pull requests and code reviews a little bit more recently. And so let's dive into it. In general, I don't think it's great practice to like not include team members on pull requests and code reviews. And so I poked through the comments to see like, do other people have a different take on this or what's going on? And cat hair on my face. The one comment that I saw that kind of stood out to me was like, again, we don't have actual context for what's happening in reality. But this person said maybe that person, given their seniority and tenure, maybe they actually know the individuals that they're adding onto those pull requests and code reviews. Like maybe those people have actually worked in that area before. So maybe what seems like they're avoiding the team members, they're actually putting in people that have like knowledge of the domain from before. Now, just to cut myself off, I'm not suggesting that means it's like that alone is like reason to not include team members, but I actually think that is a really good reason to include people from different teams. So I'm not necessarily like taking that statement and then saying, therefore, I fully agree that he or she's absolutely doing the right thing. I just think that like that's actually a pretty good, reminder for folks is like maybe you don't actually have some of the context in that situation, and the person who has more tenure knows some of the other individuals that have worked in that space. And they're trying to get their perspective as they're making code changes there. So I think that's pretty interesting. I like talking through this stuff because like there's just different perspectives. I don't think that on the surface I would have thought about that. I think it makes sense. I've seen this kind of thing happen a lot, especially like the two teams that I've worked on at Microsoft in Office 365. There's a lot of code that's really old, right? Like there's stuff we're like a lot of Microsoft technology, if we think about Outlook and Exchange and stuff like that, like there's stuff that's been around for like, it's older than some of the engineers on the teams. Right? So to go like, hey, look, I have to go touch something that's way back and, this person like, oh yeah, they're still at the company. They're still, they might be on a different team or something. Like but like the person might go add them. That was the longest transition of a light. I like stopped because I could have, or shouldn't have gone through. It was like 3 more seconds. So like, I think it's a really common thing that happens. So good to call out. There was a lot of people, and I think this does make a lot of sense. Like you can not work around this problem, but like you can minimize this being a problem. That person just ran a red light by actually using some of your tooling, and it depends what you're using. But like you can set this kind of stuff up, in whether it's GitHub or other tools to be able to say, look, like there's people that like are automatic reviewers, right? So if you are touching certain files or paths, automatically put these people on. Like I know like we use Azure DevOps at work, and there's area owners, right? So automatically, if you are touching some of the files, like it will just include the people, like some of the team members as reviewers, or it'll add the team and then like one person or two people from the team, depending on the policy, they need to like sign off because you're touching something that they're an owner of. And so like that just might be a really low effort thing. I'm saying low effort, I mean low effort depending on who you are and your experience doing it, but in the grand scheme of things, probably a pretty low effort thing to do that can like minimize some of that. Now that comes with other changes in team culture and process and stuff like that, but if one of the issues is like the team is not getting exposed to some of these changes, then like that might be a great way to just like the tooling kind of builds it into how your team operates. So I thought that was a great suggestion. There's a lot of people that were like, hey, like you don't even need to talk about this, solution is this, move on. So I think that is like a technical solution, or at least an option technically to go perhaps minimize this challenge. So something to consider. There's a couple of like other angles I wanted to think about this problem from. And there is sort of another sort of theme of comments around this, but one of the reasons that the poster was kind of complaining about this, and I think is like a fair reason, is they're like, hey, if they're not adding our team members, like they're like, for me selfishly, like if I don't get to see some of these changes coming through, then I don't get to learn the code, right? Like that stuff's kind of changing right underneath my nose and I don't even get to see it. So like, what the heck, right? And the solution to that is really just add me to the pull request so I can see it. So one of the themes of comments around this was like, hey, like if your goal is to like learn the code base, they were kind of saying like that seems like a pretty crappy excuse. And I thought that was an interesting take to say like, basically that what that person's saying is a bit of an excuse, right? Because I agree with the person. Like I think that it's a super low effort thing to just toss some team members on it. So even if it's purely for visibility, right? There have been situations where we might have like new developers joining the team, and it's like realistically we're not expecting that you're going to get put onto this code review and like have like tons of like really, and I don't mean to be condescending here, but like tons of really valuable feedback, because you're probably like, I just have questions right now, and that's totally cool, right? Like if you haven't worked in the space, you might not even know the language. So you don't know the language, you don't know the domain. It's like realistically, you probably aren't going to be like reading someone's code and being like, yes, like you've totally missed this scenario. Like go back and add the test for it. Like probably not. I'm not saying it's impossible, but probably not. But you might have questions. And so, I think it's a great practice to just make sure that the team members can see changes coming through. And even, being clear with people, like, if you don't have comments or like feedback, that's totally fine. Like you can leave comments and or questions, right? Depends on your team culture and stuff. But like if you're reading stuff and you're like, man, I have no idea what's going on here, or curious about why we follow a pattern or whatever else, like leave comments or message the person, whatever. I think it's a great opportunity to get some learning. And so that's why I like partially, agree with the poster. But I think the other people that are kind of saying it's a bit of a lousy excuse is like, I also think they're kind of right, because if your goal is truly just to learn the code base, like, you can see the pull request going up. You might not get a notification for it, but like there's nothing stopping you from just looking at the pull request. So I thought it was interesting because it's like, it's not wrong, depending on your tooling and setup. Why is this? I didn't check the traffic. Okay, it's an extra 15 minutes of traffic for like the next mile. This is probably an accident. Can't win, man. What does this time say on this sign? I'm not going to Bellevue, that's 45 minutes. Bothell, 27 minutes. Depending on what part of Bellevue, I'm probably on the 45-minute mark. That's what Google say. It's like 9:30, man. Like, I don't want a 45-minute commute at 9:30 after rush hour. This is stupid. But I get to hang out with you folks, and that makes it better. So, yeah, I think that if someone's truly motivated because they want to go learning and stuff, like, technically your tooling should allow you to go viewing pull requests and stuff like that. So, it's kind of a bad excuse, but, like, I can see both sides of that. Now, the one part that I think is kind of interesting, and this might be where I'll talk about this a little bit more before I wrap up and make the next video on the next topic, is like, it seems like the manager's unwillingness to kind of do anything about this. And I kind of look at this from two fronts. Like, one, did the original poster even talk to the other person about this? This goes back to a handful of recent videos I made recently where, one of the things that I always try to remind people that I work with, right, that I'm coaching, that are team members that report to me, it's like, there's always going to be interpersonal conflicts and friction in your career. Always, right? It's like, the goal isn't to try and like run away from them and avoid them. The goal is like to understand when they happen, like how do you navigate these things and like get to a point where you can reduce that friction and make progress. And there's obviously not like a one size fits all here. It's not like a, always just follow step 1, 2, 3 and it works perfectly. Not like that. But the reality is you need like skills and experiences and practice in kind of navigating this stuff in order to get better at navigating it. And one of the things that I tell people is like, look, like I'm happy to support you if you need me to talk to someone and like we can talk about what that looks like. Do they need anonymous feedback? Do you want me to like structure it in a way that like mentions you? Like whatever it happens to be, right? I don't want to set someone up and they're like, oh my God, like I can't believe you said that to that person. Now they're going to come after me. Like, I want to make sure that whatever path we're taking, they feel comfortable. But I always say, I think the most effective thing, not only for like making progress on this thing, but the most effective thing even beyond that in terms of gaining the skill and the experience is like, go talk to the person. Go do that. And I realize it's like, it's easier said than done, because if it was so easy, then people would have just done it. But is what it is, right? Like you have to kind of practice it in order to make some progress on it. So I think that this person should probably go talk to that individual. And then probably the other thing that I mentioned is like, I find it kind of weird that the manager isn't doing anything about it, but I don't really know how this person approached it with their manager. Did they just kind of like casually mention it and they're like, hey, like, would be nice if people on the team did this, and the manager's like, yeah, I guess like that makes sense, or like I don't know, like sure. And then that person's interpreting it like the manager can read their mind that like this individual specifically is not doing it, or that there's actually like a team culture problem where that's not happening. Like we don't know how that topic came up. So I would recommend that this person talks to that individual, sees how they can kind of clear the air on it. And if that's a team culture problem, then like, yeah, like start, culture's been another topic recently that we keep going over in these videos. And you don't get to say what the culture is. You have to kind of live out the actions and live it by example. And then culture is like what you observe from what's happening repeatedly. So you need to be able to demonstrate and build momentum that it's like a thing that people want on the team is to add other team members to code reviews and pull requests. Publicly praise people. Hey, thanks for adding me to that. Like, we'll check, or you can say like, hey folks, I added you to this. Thanks so much. I really appreciate whatever. Like kind of just like demonstrating to the team like why it's a good thing, and then getting other people bought into that. And then it builds momentum, right? Lots of different ways to do this, but I don't know how clear they were with their manager about this, and my guess is that like probably not clear enough, or sort of explaining why it feels like such a pain point. And I would encourage them to talk to the individual, then revisit it with their manager. But overall, I'm going to wrap it up there. I actually just realized I was glancing over because it looks like my microphone's about to die too, which is kind of dumb. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.